Welcome back to the Truth Factory. I'm just gonna go on a weird rant for a while. A lot of people have been going crazy or getting butthurt over Kanye's recent flip to the right and endorsement of Trump and Candace Owens.
It's the mob. The mob tries to tell you what to think. The mob tries to make all blacks be Democrats for food stamps and stuff. It's the mob.
Now, is Kanye just trying to get attention and create controversy for the release of his new album? Well, yeah, that's probably a huge part of it, but who cares? Kanye is a free thinker who isn't easily controlled, and he represents an existential threat to the Democratic Party as he has a gigantic following and couldn't be more mainstream or influential right now. So if he wants to drop some red pills and open up his audience to different political voices and perspectives, I think that's fantastic, especially since so many Illuminati celebrities are shitting themselves over this. I like anyone who stirs it up in Hollywood, a place where celebrities are always acting like society's moral arbiters, but in actuality it's just full of perverts, pedophiles, prostitutes, and fake people who do as they're told. I mean, look at these weirdos dressed up at this blasphemous Catholic-themed Met Gala. 400 years ago, these people would have all been rounded up and executed, and the clergy who hosted them would have been excommunicated. Even today, if this party were themed as blasphemous Judaism or blasphemous Islam, there would be outrage throughout the world and heads would roll. But this is where we are at in our society right now, where appropriating and lampooning only certain cultures is acceptable. Now, I personally think that people should be able to wear whatever they want. Fashion is subjective, and if you want to wear a melted garbage bag or this ostentatious birdcage on your head like an idiot, I don't care. That's not hurting anything except for their own dignity. But besides a few assholes like this, typically people who adopt other cultural styles don't do so with malicious intent, but are simply showing sincere cultural admiration. For a personal example, my father is a shamanic healer. He smokes the peace pipe, has drum circles, and at times even dons braids and feathers, and I'm pretty sure he can paint with all of the colors of the wind. But he's not a Native American, and unlike Elizabeth Warren, he doesn't claim to be. But I believe that there is a difference between someone who dedicates their life to a culture or religion that they weren't born into, versus someone who puts on a headdress at Coachella to look cool. It's understandable why seeing your religion or culture mocked in a significant or purposeful way is offensive. My problem is not with that. It's that context doesn't seem to matter anymore on this issue. It's the double standard, and it's the over-the-top, politically correct outrage culture that we're living in. As you're probably well aware, last week a lot of people in the Twitterverse had their panties in a twist when this girl wore this dress to prom. Jeremy Lamb tweeted, "My culture is not your goddamn prom dress." But the irony of his statement is that that style of dress was originally designed in Shanghai in the 1920s in an attempt to copy Western culture. But who cares? Everyone culturally appropriates everyone else. This person is wearing my species as their prom dress, and Bruce Jenner appropriated my gender. But I'm not allowed to talk about that because it's the current year. Now, the response from China about this dress was overwhelmingly positive because she didn't do anything tacky or messed up to it, like whoever made this plate of disgrace and called it a poutine. Now, as a Canadian, I'm happy if you want to eat poutine or play hockey or basketball or watch Superman inject insulin or maple syrup, and while I take pride in my Canadian heritage, the things originating from my country do not personally belong to me, and I don't get to designate who's allowed to partake in my culture. It's not something that can be owned, and if you want to adapt it into something that I personally find gross, that's totally your choice. But speaking of cultural appropriation in Canada, where was the liberal Twitter mob when Justin Trudeau did the exact same thing here? Or here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here, like a globalist Ken doll. I'm almost convinced at this point that Trudeau is actually just trolling all of us because not even Liberace acted this gay. But if Trudeau wants to play Mr. Dress Up, he has the right to do so, even though it's super embarrassing, like when your mom buys a bedazzled jean jacket and thinks she's cool.
Am I cool, kids? No.
For another example of manufactured outrage on this topic, the Southern Poverty Law Center tweeted that most festivities surrounding Cinco de Mayo in the US are textbook examples of cultural appropriation, relegating the history and culture of Mexican people to novelty items. Mexican culture cannot be reduced to tacos, oversized sombreros, and piñatas. You got that, racists? No more tacos. Now, first off, I'm not sure how the SPLC suddenly became the spokesperson for what is offensive to all Mexicans. And second of all, what do they want me to do? Carry around a picture of Mexican folk artist Frida Kahlo instead of drinking tequila? What's fun about that? And I have to wonder if they're going to put out a tweet on St. Patrick's Day about how we can't drink beer or wear the color green. I mean, we bastardize Irish culture all of the time. Look at a box of Lucky Charms. Or what about Italians? Both of those cultures have a history of being marginalized groups in the West, so why doesn't the SPLC care about them? Well, let's just be honest. The term cultural appropriation was not actually designed to make things more fair and respectful of other cultures. In my opinion, it seems like it's really not about culture at all, and it's actually just about race. And it's mostly used to shame white people so they can't enjoy things like tacos and yoga. And the cultural appropriation police wouldn't even disagree with that statement, as the most common objection to the racial double standard is that white people have some sort of power or privilege over minorities. But if you can freely eat tacos on Cinco de Mayo without the SPLC getting up your ass and putting you on some sort of hate watch list, and I can't, then who really has the privilege here? Do we not bleed the same blood? If you truly believe that other people should not be allowed to adapt or appreciate your culture because of their skin color, then you have an exclusionary, segregationist mindset, which is fine as long as you admit that. But ironically, it's typically people with this mindset who are also pro-immigration, in favor of open borders, and tearing down historical monuments, all while shouting diversity is our strength because of how great the blending of different cultures is. But if we aren't allowed to actually partake in the customs and traditions of other cultures, then what is the benefit of diversity? Civilizations have been benefiting by trading with, using, adapting, and assimilating into other people's cultures for centuries. At this point, it's kind of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because if you don't like adapting to other cultures, then you're seen as xenophobic. And if you like other people's cultures too much, then you're appropriating it. Can someone please help me navigate how much I'm allowed to enjoy other people's cultures based off of the color of my skin? If we truly believe in freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and equality, then we shouldn't get to cherry pick which cultures it's okay to appropriate and which ones aren't based on race. It's either all or nothing, and if it's nothing, then what is the point of living in a culturally diverse country? So before you get on your high horse and say things like, "My culture is not your prom dress," remember that we all do it. Many of the things that we enjoy have been influenced by multiple nations all around the world. Think of the things that you do every day. The clothes you wear, the foods you eat, the music you listen to, the art you like, the movies you watch, the sports you play, the languages you speak, and then forget about it all because no one cares. This is a non-issue. You're just a tiny speck of dust floating on a tiny rock in a near infinite universe, just trying to make it through like everyone else. None of us are special, and according to this new quantum theory, we're probably all living in some kind of weird hologram anyway, so none of it matters. So you might as well just eat tacos full of Swedish meatballs while doing yoga, wearing a toga, and playing Mario Kart. And now that you're all having an existential crisis, I want to thank everyone for supporting me. I'm going to try to get another video out right away. Thank you so much. Press the like and that kitty bell. Have a great night. Meow!